Nathan Steuer just won Worlds with Grixis, and I'm so happy. I think most people are so relieved to not see Esper dominate the tournament. We've had the Haughty Jin decks doing really well in the standard portion, and then unfortunately that team or those players didn't do as well in the Explorer portion of the tournament. But Nathan did, and he did just enough to get him into top four and play standard again with his Grixis deck against three other Esper players. He lost his first, I think he lost his first match in the bracket, and then since it's double elimination, he still gets to play some more, and he ended up winning everything since starting from that. So I figured we'd talk about the strategy and why he was doing so well with it, and then I'm probably gonna end up playing a game as well. Anyways, this deck has really good matchup at Esper, and Nathan Steuer said that at multiple occasions that he was feeling really good about the matchup, and you can kind of see why, because Esper decks have trouble dealing with cards like Bloodtithe Harvester, Corpse Appraiser, and Fable the Mirrorbreaker. So these three spells are actually kind of frustrating to deal with because this generates a good card advantage as long as Denic is not a problem, and it can eat the underdog and it can eat the Denic from the graveyard. So it's like it's a very high upside card. This has been a nightmare for all the Esper players. I mean, you have no way to you have no way to 1-for-1 this. This card just generates so much value and keeps your cards fresh with the discard and redraw. You'll basically always have what you need in hand as long as this sticks around. So this has been a nightmare. And then Bloodtithe Harvester just being like that creature that attacks for a lot of damage, but also can remove your creatures, your opponent's creatures. The deck just functions really solidly and consistently. That's the key word, right? It was consistently good against Esper. And Invoke Despair was just absolutely incredible. And Invoke Despair really pushes your opponent to their limits in a board state where they're not heavily advantaged. So if you're about even with your opponent, this swings the game almost immediately. It's so much card advantage, and it resets the board. And it can also draw you like 3 cards, can also draw 2 cards, and the damage it deals is super relevant when you have Shieldred in the deck as well. So they'll be sacrificing like a creature and maybe nothing else, then you're dealing 4 and you're drawing 2. Well, they'll be sacrificing like a creature and an enchantment or a creature and a planeswalker, and you're still drawing a card and dealing 2 damage. And when you have a card like Shieldred in the deck, that damage clearly adds up. It does add up quite a bit, and I mean, Shieldred has won Nathan Steuer quite a few games in standard, I think. And then so those are like the permanents, right? The dangerous permanents plus the Hailmaker, the finisher of this deck, Invoke Despair. So we talked about those. And then we can talk about the interaction, which is relatively similar to what Esper is running. But in this case, it's a little bit more difficult to interact with the Grixis deck because they don't have to necessarily play on curve. This deck can play on curve really well, but also it can just sit back, wait until you cast something, remove, and then punish, right? It's very similar to Esper in that way. But this deck has like much more, I don't know how to describe it. Like it has less individually powerful cards, I would say. Like it doesn't have as many legendaries like crazy owls and stuff like that, but it has very solid card advantage creatures or card selection in Bloodtithe Harvester, because Bloodtithe Harvester makes that blood token. It gives you that consistency where you can spend 1, discard a land, redraw, or discard an expensive spell, redraw, and keeps your deck flowing, right? Anyways, interaction cut down has been spectacular against Raffine. Raffine being a 1/4 and having ward 1, you really need that cheap interaction. You have to hit it once it comes into play. So this has been really clutch. Infernal Grasp, we all know it just kills anything. You're taking damage. So that was one thing I'll talk about later. The damage you're taking is a problem in this deck, but we'll talk about that. Abrade, maybe not the most exciting card to have in the main deck because people ended up not playing many Bankbusters. But, 2 mana deal 3, it's fine. It did its job. It was not spectacular, I would say, but it was good. Duress has been spectacular, though. Duress has been great. It's very good in this deck that you can have a card like this to just quickly get rid of a threat from your opponent, as in like for Esper, Wandering Emperor, and Wedding Announcement, very important. Or sometimes fetching a counter spell if you're prepping for like one of your big spells. Very important. Or removal for Shieldred. This card is very big in the main deck, very big. And specifically in a deck like this, which kind of similar to Esper, can discard cards to redraw, but the big difference is that Esper needs Rafine to do that, which is a creature, and it's not an ETB, so you can kill Rafine before they get to throw cards back and throw cards in the graveyard and redraw. But this deck, you have Fable. Chapter 2, very difficult to remove Fable for Esper. And Chapter 2, discard 2, redraw, or Blood Token, discard duress, redraw. Very, very good card to have. Make Disappear has been fantastic as well. I mean, we all know it, best counterspell in Standard. It's just fantastic to tempo your opponent out. So if you're on turn 2, like on the draw, you want to counter your opponent's 3 drops because those are probably the most pivotal cards you want to counter in this Standard meta. 3 drops are extremely powerful and set the pace for the rest of the game. So if your opponent resolves a Rafine, it's going to be, and you don't have removal, it's going to be rough. If they resolve a Wedding Announcement, it's even worse. If you're playing in a Fable matchup, you don't want them to resolve Fable. Like, all these cards just take control of the game immediately, and it's rough. So you need that counterspell for 2 mana. And also the fact that people are playing expensive spells means that it's usually irrelevant for the rest of the game, or you can sack something to make it relevant. Or you can discard it, as I said with Duress, same thing. You can just sack a Blood Token, get rid of it. Fable, get rid of it. Liliana is a really good card against Esper unless they have Wedding Announcement. So this was like kind of just that one of that people have to respect. I understand why it's there. It's probably not as good on ladder as it is in a tournament setting, but I feel like this card serves its purpose when people know you have it and open decklist invitational tournament. It makes sense. I respect it. And then we have the mana base that's very good, but also a little bit scary. So a little bit scary because 8 pain lands and also 4 non-black lands. We've seen it many times during the tournament where Nathan could not cast Invoke Despair, and that was because of Siobhan Reef. But the problem is, that's the trade-off. You need this card. You need 4 Siobhan Reef because you have so many colors that you need to hit. That you need to play 4. Sure, you can get unlucky sometimes and not cast Invoke Despair, but you just have to for your consistency. Like, it's unlikely that it stops you from casting Despair, but it's gonna happen, and you're gonna feel pretty bad when it does. But overall, it's just necessary. But the main problem is that you're taking damage. This deck has a lot of colors. You can see here, you need a red and a black. Here you need a red, black, and blue. 2 black, 2 black, 4 black. Like, that adds up, and the amount of damage you could be taking could get pretty ridiculous. Honestly, I've played games with Grixis where I'm taking like a total of 8 damage throughout the game. Like, almost dying. One game I was at 1 from taking so much damage, and I was so close to losing, but you still end up. It feels like this deck barely edges out the win sometimes because of the amount of damage you're taking. It's very dangerous, but necessary. So it's like you're trading power for life, right? So yeah, it's a trade-off, and I mean, it worked out for him, and it seems to be working on average. On average, it seems to be not doing enough damage to kill you, so that's good. But then, like, you have to consider you're also playing Infernal Grasp, so that could be a total of 6 damage already, plus the Pain Land. So it gets pretty rough. Thankfully, we have Shield Red that can gain some life, but it being a creature and removal being pretty good in the Esper decks, this doesn't necessarily stick, but when it does, you're safe, obviously. Anyways, I think we've gone through the main deck. Let's move on to sideboard. Rona's Vortex. You know what's missing in the main deck? Well, you could say it's missing, but I mean, he probably did on purpose. But a lot of Esper players were playing Owl, and Owl is a nightmare to deal with. So I do think maybe he either didn't think Owl would be a problem or didn't think people would play that many Owls in the main deck. But I feel like he could probably have played either the 3-mana Exile spell, but he chose not to play in the 75, so I'm guessing he just didn't want to play that card, Soul Transfer. Because Soul Transfer, you can get a card back pretty easily. Like, you have Artifact and Enchantments. You can, not pretty easily, but you can do it. So this would have been fine. Exiles target creature, Planeswalker, Sorcery Speed, 3 mana. That could have been fine, but he chose Rona's Vortex, and he put them both in the sideboard. And actually, I really love Rona's Vortex. I feel like it's a fantastic card because it's instant and it's flexible. And so he has these 2 cards to deal with Owl. Now, It just so happened that Esper players were playing quite a bit of OWL. So if you do not find Rona's Vortex, it's a little rough. Because OWL can really take over against this type of deck. Because you have sack effects like Invoke Despair. It doesn't do that well against something that can just grab whatever from your deck once it dies. But yeah, we have the Rona's Vortex for that, and for aggressive decks where you just want the bounce. Great. Another cut down. It's been great against Esper. You need it to kill Rafine. You need it to kill 2-drops. Very important. Because then you want to play... Like, you need it to kill Denick and then eat it with Corpse Appraiser. So you have to get rid of Denick. Otherwise, you cannot target in the graveyard with Corpse Appraiser. Very important. The 2 other Bank Busters... Honestly, they were decent against Esper, but the thing is, you don't want to draw more than 1 usually per game. So I guess this was more of a consistency thing where he wanted all 4 just to have almost a guaranteed chance of finding 1, which is totally reasonable. I respect that. I don't know if it's on ladder, you probably wouldn't play 4, but yeah. Anyways, we've got the 3rd Duress. You know, I said Duress was strong. 4th one makes sense, right? Some decks when you're on the draw, you really want to make sure your opponent doesn't cast those non-creature spells that dominate the game early. Disdainful Stroke was fantastic, actually. You know, I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. Most of the like extremely powerful cards do cost 4 more, and a lot of people are playing those cards, like Wandering Emperor, Shield Red, Owl, even other people playing Invoke Despair on ladder, for example. Or if he expected more people to bring like bigger spells, right? So this is good to have a 1-of, why not? 2 negates, I mean, we all know why these are here. Non-creature spells are super insane in this format. You really want to have these. You really want to have these hard counters. You can protect your own creatures as well, very important. The Kaito, I am not sure about really, because I mean, I'm okay with Kaito in this deck, but you're not really attacking. So it's probably just there as a nod to like more controlling matchups where you really want to take it slow. So I understand why it's there. Like a 1-of, you can just 1-ofs you can just throw in the sideboard, really. Another Infernal Grasp makes sense. Best removal spell you can have. 2 more Braids. I'm assuming for the mirror match, because in the mirror match you want to bring in Bankbuster, and against other players playing Bankbuster, for example. So it kind of makes sense. But unfortunately, like these 2 spells didn't really do much because everybody brought Esper, and a Braid is not great into Esper. So maybe this was like kind of not the best call, but obviously it's so hard to predict that everybody's going to bring Esper in this tournament. Actually, I have no idea. I don't think we've seen him bring it in a single time. I could be wrong, but of the games I've watched, I have not seen this card come in. I'm pretty sure it's for more aggressive matchups. Maybe like I don't really know. This is more of a spice card, and it's funny because winning with a spice card in your deck, it makes it all the more impressive. It's kind of a nod. Like people throw like random cards in the sideboard sometimes, just for like the fun of seeing the deck list and seeing this card that sees no play. Like Atsushi sees 0 standard play, and it's not the best card, but 4/4 flyer for 4/4 flyer for 4, not bad. I feel like this could just be Ancient Dragon War though, but it's fine. It's there for some reason. Until he says what the reason is, we can't really speculate. I don't really know what matchups this is for, but anyways, before we jump into the match, if you want to support my channel, go ahead and subscribe and click that notification bell. And if you want to watch me live, go ahead and follow me on Twitch. Alright, we are playing first. Terrible hand. Decent hand. Blood Scythe goes to the bottom. Mono red. Essentially? Or it's Anvil. Could be Anvil. It's most likely Anvil, right? Anvil is probably not the best matchup, but we do have 4 Braids. And I hit that on 2. Definitely attacking here. Sure. Good trade. Could be difficult until I find a Shield Red. Or Corpse Appraiser. Or Fable. They have 2 damage. Okay, so they chose to wait until post-combat. Interesting. I don't think their hand is very good. Fair. Oh wow, that's interesting. Good play for them, I think. Unless I had 2 removal spells. Which I don't. It's good. This is supposed to be red. That is a decision. That is a decision. If my Shieldred lives, it is better. But it also could only be played next turn. Well, if I just take the Anvil this turn, I'm under less pressure. But I'm also... Alright, fine. Let's just go with the higher upside. I also have the blood tokens to use with it. And the Bank Buster potentially. Wow. That is kind of unlucky. I have to chump block. Could have also traded, I guess. Do I have to chump block actually? Probably. I guess I can make sure my card lives this way. Okay. Oh, I'm taking 1 damage, but most likely worth it. Whoever finds removal first wins. But I also have invokes that I can't cast. Okay, well. Not the best. They also have a lot of reach with the Epicures and the Anvil. Wow. Perfect. I'm gonna stand back here just to prevent Bank Buster attack. Oh, that feels good. Scary. They drew 2 Shield Red, but I managed to find 2 Infernal Grass, so it kind of makes up for it. Now they really have to destroy this, or they will most likely lose. Okay. Unfortunate. So I only managed to gain 2 life off that. Well, I guess when it was bouncing off, it was gaining me life as well. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of taking damage here, but it is what it is. I think in this spot, I mean, it doesn't really matter what I take. If they bring back either, I probably lose. I think the land. the safest situation ever. But I needed that land for Invoke at some point. I have 5 turns to live. Two more shield reds in the deck that could save me. Eventually. I really need shield red. Wow, let's go! Grixis is not cursed. Grixis is definitely not cursed. No, I don't crew that. Definitely just one attack here. Block. Wow, let's go. Such a good draw. Well, we're both drawing so well in the mid game, but I feel like now I've started drawing better than my opponent. They're breaking a little hard here. They had a faster, well, they didn't have a fast start, but overall they had the better hand. But I think I turned a corner at this point. The power of shield red is just pure insanity. Alright, so that's dying. But I'm pretty safe here. Wow. That's good for me. Alright, so they are dead here. Can do this. Not block. And win on the swing back. Okay. They already played land, so they can't cast any more spells. I do have to take one though. We are at 1 HP. Let's go. Goodness, this mana base. You see what I'm talking about now? Like, the amount of damage you take in some matchups, and notably this one, is terrifying. Like, you're teetering on the edge of defeat at any point. Holy moly. It's very stressful playing this deck. If you can't handle the amount of pressure you take from losing life and being at low HP, I would not recommend this. It's not good for the heart. Alright, well, maybe that was why the 4 Braids are in the deck. Maybe he was actually predicting that some people would bring Anvil. It was a possibility. I doubt it, but you know, who knows? Maybe his level of foresight was like super crazy for this potential tournament. And he was really ready for a lot of things. Duress sounds very strong. Stroke, not so much. Bankbuster was very good. I wish we had like some kind of sweeper or something. Actually, Atsushi isn't terrible, but it also dies to the 4 damage. Surge, red, 1 red card. We got 4 answers to shield red. We got counter spells that most likely are bad in this matchup. Can invoke, that's pretty good. Bankbuster's pretty decent. Decent early game removal. Liliana is useless. Honestly, Vortex is something I'm heavily considering in this spot. Just because I need more answers to shield red, but I could also play Negate. Negate doesn't sound too bad. For me here in this position, it's either negate or vortex, I think. And I have a feeling that vortex on average is going to be better because I can use it reactively. I can use it proactively, I mean. So like I can tap out and then use vortex. Vortex also kills Fable tokens, very important. Well, it kills the Goblin. It can deal with Shield Red. It can deal with whatever random Planeswalkers they're running. Oh my goodness. Sure. Interesting, but I feel like to play around the duress, I'm going to, well, looks like I put the card on top on accident. Good enough for me. Slow start from my opponent again. That's a really good sign. Cycling the land here kind of makes sense. Because if I'm not drawing a land, I'm most likely drawing something useful anyways. I don't want to flood out from this position, and they could find a duress at any point as well. Have to be careful. Bankbuster, sure. Could play this into Shield Red, but I don't feel like that's very strong. I don't know if I want to develop Shield Red yet. Mana efficiency, but also this is interesting. I think I do like destroying it now. It's good that good on them for playing around a braid. That's very smart. Their land. I guess I am going with the Shield Red here. Force them to have an answer. Notably in Nathan's deck, there are 2 Takanumas. Very interesting, right? 26 lands is not considered to be an amount that you would play 2 legendary lands in, but it's totally fine. It's high risk, high reward. Ah, see, that's what I was talking about with the duresses. Unfortunately, they drew it on that turn, which does not make me very happy. Damn. Pretty unlucky. Let's hope I don't get too wrecked here by the randomness. Would have been so good. I have one at the bottom as well, that's unfortunate. Braid comes down. I do have Takanuma to get it back. But we are in a bad spot. Fable advantage is huge. In every black-red pseudo mirror, because it's not really a mirror match, but kind of, whoever draws Fable has a massive advantage. Discarding 0 is terrifying. Well, that is unfortunate, but we have a braids for that. Most likely just cycling this then. Oh. Well, that's timely. I probably should have cut a few Corpse Appraisers in this matchup for more Reckoner Bankbusters. I didn't realize they were going to play this slow. Usually Anvil decks have a relatively low curve, but it looks like they're basically playing the control deck in this matchup, which is kind of interesting because I have Invokes. Not an easy situation. I didn't board correctly for this kind of situation. I wasn't expecting them to go this controlling. Otherwise, I would have played my deck way slower. And I should have probably cut the appraisers anyways. Like 2 appraisers for Still have 3 copies of Infernal Grasp. Yep. And I have 2 more invokes. Okay, well, not great, but I can still draw invoke here or that, which is useless. It's not looking too good for me. Still alive though. Any thoughts on a shield red ban? I do feel like this card is a little too strong. Oh god. Yeah, suddenly they're just playing just Rakdos. They're not even playing Anvil anymore. Yeah, no, I basically have no outs in this position. You can tell Nathan's deck is not really built for ladder, but I just wanted to show it off in a quick match. The video I made yesterday is a more adapted version for ladder, but I actually updated that deck even more on stream, but it should be in the deck list link anyways. A lot of removal, exile, a lot of artifacts. Very slow pace, very, very slow pace. We're definitely cutting all of these. Probably gonna end up playing Kaito. Play like a very controlling style here. Probably gonna play this Lily as well. Play as many like resilient things as possible. Runus Vortex. It's not looking too good. But also it's fine. I mean, it's totally okay. Just don't think it's that necessary. Most likely I just end up playing Gates here. Could play a stroke to deal with the... I don't think Kaito's gonna be that good. I think Lily's gonna be good though. But I don't know about Kaito. I feel like Kaito could be like terrible as well. I'm gonna play stroke instead. It should come into play at some point. I know they're playing Duress, but still. Countering Shield Red. They're playing Pilfer too, though. Yeah, that might be a mistake. Maybe playing Counterspell is just not it. Yeah, sure. This gives me good opportunity to top deck in this position. I don't really need the blue. I might cycle. You know, definitely going to play this out. Alright. Well, my curve is set. Don't want to take extra damage in this matchup, so I'm just going to kill it. Definitely a card I want to dodge here, and I think we all know what it is. Well, actually, I do want to dodge multiple cards here. I'll leave that up to your imagination. And that's one of them. Okay. Interesting, that means I do get to brick their looting most likely here. Or they can take 4. Okay, they choose to brick it. That tells me they most likely have no answer for Shield Red. Except for the 4 damage spell, which I do think they have it in hand, or a braid. It's probably. Ooh, we like that. Oh, we definitely like that negate. Oh, I'm happy I brought it in because this is the perfect position for a counter spell. Perfect position. Right when they're really struggling to stabilize. Let's hope for the best. Hopefully not another shield red. That's the only thing I'm not looking forward to facing potentially. Anvil is okay. That, not so much. I'm gonna deal with the reflection on this turn. Okay, they're keeping the artifact. Very interesting. I guess they are looking to block this turn. I do know they have a braid. I have a hard read on a braid with their attack. Well, no, it is a braid, right? They wouldn't have the 1 mana spell, otherwise it would have a notable stop here. I'm gonna keep these cards in hand. Oh, they do have it. Well, that's fine because they would have to use blood. That's totally fine. They're fully reset and I can get it back. The spot is totally okay. Okay, that's annoying. Alright, maybe we are not so stable after all. Pretty unfortunate turn of events. I thought they had a braid, but I guess playing around the Voltage Surge was a consideration as well. And again, they would have to lose their blood and their treasure. Oh, and I got rid of lands there. That's really nice. That was basically a draw 3. Or 4 if you consider Shield Red coming back. Alright. Maybe they have a removal spell that would be... No? I think they might. Either way, there's no reason for me to consider blocking on this turn. Very close match. One invoke to spare away from potentially stabilizing. Or just straight up Infernal Grasp. Or Liliana. Pretty much anything. But I mean, I guess they're pretty close to stabilizing too, once they find an engine for this anvil. But they slow down their deck so much that they most likely can't find anything here, right? I think their sideboard plan is very bizarre because their anvil wants early fodder, and it seems like they slowed down their deck so much that it's just not happening. We're just both getting stalemated here. Just not the best thing ever. Should I offer up the trade? Could be a thing. It's definitely a consideration. But I don't know what the odds are of them finding an answer. I don't think it's that high. I think I'm just gonna wait. I don't want to risk it. They could also have like a 3 damage spell, crew this, block, and then I'm in a terrible position. Let's just chill. They didn't have an answer last turn. The odds of them finding an answer are still low. This hearse is getting a little bit out of hand though. I do have 3 braids. 4 braids. Thought I cast one already, but I did not. Hey, no answer still. Still stalemate. Alright, nice. What did I find? A braid and second shield red. Well, that means I can offer the trade. And actually, I could offer the attack all here. Let's do it. If they crew, I destroy. And if they block, then we trade and we play another shield red. Very good draws. The Bankbuster was also a good draw. All 3 of my draws were great. Perfect. Well, I hope you enjoyed the match. I'm only going to play 1 today. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.